Spring intel. Like I said, spring football is on and popping across the country. A couple of major programs had some intense, if you will, spring practices, some scrimmages that went down. I want to break these down. We got scrimmages from Texas, Ohio State, Auburn, and just kind of break down the latest that we've heard across the country at those different schools. We'll start with Texas. Savion Redd is a name we've heard a lot over on the Texas on 3 site, Inside Texas. Bobby Burton, Justin Wells, Joe Cook, they do a phenomenal job covering that program. And Savion Redd is a guy that keeps on getting mentioned in terms of someone that's turning heads. Now, he was a wide receiver a season ago. He has since transitioned to the running back position. You look at him, it makes sense. He's right around 5'11", 6 foot, big body, 215 or so pounds. He just continues to draw praise every single practice for the way that he hits the hole hard, the way that he's going to be a guy for them this coming season out of the backfield with his receiver background. And this is important because if you know anything about Steve Sarkisian's offense, he runs that run-pass option, right? The run-pass option is only possible if you can do the first part of that equation. You don't get the pass option if you can't run the football. So having a guy that's going to step in, Bijan Robinson's gone, Roschon Johnson's gone. They're going to be a running back by committee kind of operation, I would imagine, this coming season. But Savion Redd, to have good feedback to this point in the year, to this point in spring practice, I think is a good sign for the folks on the 40 acres. Now, another guy that made noise during the scrimmage, T'Vondre Sweat, big defensive lineman, just continues to impress. He made a play in the scrimmage where he actually intercepted a screen pass and took it back, got the whole place fired up, according to the good people at Inside Texas. This is important because for Texas, you know that they are continuing to try to make strides to just be an overall tougher football team. And Steve Sarkisian said as much. He said, we feel a lot more confident in our ability to now stop the run, having dudes like T'Vondre Sweat come back to the 40 acres and contribute to that approach and that mindset, that mentality. Tough teams play meaningful football games late in the year. I've said that ad nauseum on this show. Those of y'all that watch the show, you know that's one of my things. You got to be tough in the trenches to play meaningful games late in the year. Now, having guys like T'Vondre Sweat equips you to play tough in the trenches, if you catch my drift. Now, another thing that we've heard outside of, or coming out of camp more or less, A.D. Mitchell, receiver transferred from Georgia, is now running with the ones. Now, this is significant because previously he had been running with the twos. You say, A.D. Mitchell, wasn't that guy that caught the game winner against Ohio State to send Georgia to the Natty? Didn't he have that one-hander in the national title game against TCU, just made that DB look like a little boy? Yes, that's the exact same guy. But up until this point, the people in Austin had said, A.D. Mitchell, a lot of talent, just physically looks different than the other receivers, but he's had trouble holding on to the football in regards to a couple of drops. Uncharacteristic for A.D. Mitchell, to my understanding, but it sounds like that's behind him now. Again, running with the ones, running over Casey Kane. Now, the reason why I think this is important, think about all the weapons that Texas has offensively now. If A.D. Mitchell is up to par and up to what you would expect him to be from what he was at Georgia, then you got A.D. Mitchell, got Xavier Worthy, got Jatavian Sanders. Just more and more options in the pass game is going to make you dangerous. Pretty straightforward, right? The more guys that can get open for you, the less the defense can do to try and double team guys, because Xavier Worthy's going to draw a double team. I'm just telling you that right now. And if it's not Xavier Worthy, maybe it's Jatavian Sanders drawing a double team. Big body, like you can't double team all these guys. Somebody is going to get open. I haven't even talked about Isaiah Neyor, transfer from Wyoming a season ago. Guy that's about to absolutely pop off on the 40 acres. So far, so good for Texas. Again, only a few practices in, but this scrimmage was at the end of practice, so it wasn't like a full-on scrimmage day. A lot of encouraging things. The biggest thing I want to hone in on for Texas is the sentiment in terms of how they're practicing is encouraging, very detail-oriented. Now, if you're detail-oriented, to me, that just shows the sign of a healthy culture. It shows that there's pride in the way that you do things, shows there's accountability to each other. Worrying about the details, it's cliche, but it adds up. I mean, listen to any championship level coach or championship level player talk about the way they do things. They're not worried about results. They're not worried about the end game. They're worried about the details and how they do things. The results will come. The results will eventually get here. But for Texas, what do we talk about consistently with them over the years? Well, the culture's sour. Culture's trying to still get back to a place where they can be competitive. The focus on the details, if that is true, and it sounds like it is, that's encouraging for the good folks over there in Austin, Texas. So that's kind of the latest in terms of what we've heard from Texas in terms of their spring intel. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.